Over in England, there is a lady, her name is Michelle Philpott, and some of you may have heard of her. She wakes up every morning thinking that it's 1994. And it's a condition, and I hope I can pronounce it correctly. It's called Anterograde Amnesia. And those of you know amnesia just means memory loss. Well, the anterograde amnesia means it's a constant thing. It's not just temporary. So every morning she wakes up and her husband has to get out their wedding photo album and has to explain to her that they are husband and wife. She knows who he is because prior to 1994, they had known each other, but she doesn't have the recollection that they have been married. So every morning he has to explain to her all these details about her life that she doesn't remember. And as terrible as that sounds, I can't imagine living a life like that where every morning you wake up with your recall is erased. As terrible as that is, we can see spiritual parallels to this amnesia. We see that with the children of Israel in Exodus 15. God had already brought them out of Egypt, which was a miracle in itself. He had brought them through the Red Sea, which was a huge miracle. So in chapter 15, basically the entire chapter is a song that they're singing to the Lord. Verse 1, then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider hath he thrown into the sea. And so again, we can go down this chapter, and if you read it, you Bible readers know they're lifting up the name of the Lord. They're singing praises to him, and they should have, because he had just done a great victory. They get out the tambourines. I mean, they're having church. And then in verse 22, we find here where things come to a screeching halt, because it says in verse 22, so Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And so this is where spiritual amnesia takes over. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? So Israel's already getting to this attitude of complaining. And we can read in chapter 16 and verse 3, where they said, the children of Israel said unto them, speaking to Moses and Aaron, they said, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. So quickly, the children of Israel had already forgotten what God had just done for them. And it's so strange to me how trials that we go through, it so easily can erase the memories that we have of what God has done for us. So easily we can forget what God has already done, and we get into this state of, now what am I going to do? There's no hope. This is hopeless. There's a dear brother that he even said one time, he said, some Christians don't have a shout until the battle's over. And he was encouraging his people, even in the heat of the battle, we can still lift our hands and we can still give God glory for who he is and what he's done. Psalms 103:2 says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. In other words, the psalmist is telling himself, don't forget what God's done. You may be going through something right now, but don't forget what God has done. And I've grown up literally on the road ever since I was 7 years old. We've traveled, and I've heard a lot of testimonies over the years where people are getting up and they're supposed to be giving God the glory. And I've heard people over the years, they'll say, this battle that I'm going through is so hard. I don't know how I'm going to make it through. And one particular individual said, well, I haven't given up yet. And we were thinking to ourselves, you haven't given up yet? I mean, that language shouldn't be in the mouth of a child of God. And one particular individual, he was talking about how the old ship of Zion's in trouble and how everything is going wrong. And he said, boy, this old ship is a sinking. And I remember turning to my sister and I whispered to her, I said, I don't think we're on the same ship as what he is. It's so easy to forget what God has done during those times of adversity. And if we're not careful, that attitude of forgetting what God has done, it'll make you feel helpless. It'll make you feel hopeless. You'll start feeling depressed. You'll feel that emptiness inside of you because all you can see is what's in front of you. So if we could do what the writer says in Lamentations 3:21, it says, this I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. And this is what I love. Great is thy faithfulness. So if you're having trouble with spiritual amnesia today, could you quote the words of this song? I'm sure you've heard it. Lord, would you roll back the curtain of memory now and then? Show me where you've brought me from and where I could have been. Lord, you know I'm human and humans forget. So would you remind me, dear Lord. And like the lady we talked about at the beginning of this devotion, she has a permanent condition that she unfortunately will have to live with the rest of her life. But a child of God doesn't have to live in that place where they keep forgetting. They can ask the Lord to give them a memory recall, and there is help for a child of God that's suffering from spiritual amnesia. I hope this has been a blessing to you, and I trust God strengthens you in your journey of faith. God bless you.